Hello, our group is group 7, and we did a web application called Whenby. Whenby is a web application designed to simplify the process of scheduling meetings and events. Users can create meetings, specify their available time slots, and invite others via email. Participants can then accept the invitation and provide their own availability, allowing the system to determine the most optimal meeting time for all involved parties. We can start off by logging in. And after logging in, we land on this page where we can see all of our meetings that are hosted by us and all of the meetings we have joined. We're going to go create a meeting. We can give the meeting a name, pick a date, and pick a start and end time. Our date picker will not allow us to select a date that is before today. And if we do not provide a name, we will get an error message on the side. Okay, and if we do not provide one of the times, it will also give an error message. And if the end time is before the start time, we will also get an error message. Okay. Once we select the correct times, we can click the next button to move on to the next page. We can pick the availabilities for the attendees within the selected time frame. We can add it, and then it will be recorded there on the side. Now we will add a second attendee. And once we're ready, we can create the meeting, and an email will be sent to all the participants.
Okay, so after creating the meeting, all the email will be sent to all the members of the meeting. So we can see that in my email, we have a new confirmation email asking me to accept the meeting. And when I click on the accept link, my account Minh will become a member of the meeting. Okay, because I already logged into to Simone account, so I can see that I'm the host of the new meeting I created, and yet there's the new meeting. But if I go to my account, if I go to the password is, if I go to my account, I can see that I am not the host of the new meeting I created, but I can see I have joined the new meeting created by Simon. But if we're a host of the meeting, we will have the option to delete it if we want. And of course, it will also, all the members of that meeting will also be removed. And beside the meeting function, we'll also have a small function to update our profile if we want. And we can, over here, as long as we can provide a new username or email or password, as long as username and email doesn't match with another username or email from another account. So if we can update our username and email like that, and we can see the new username have been applied. And after all of these functions, after we're finished with Whenby, we can log out of the account to make our account secure. That's it for our user interface. Now we'll move on to a deeper dive into the code of Whenby.
So just for a refresher, this is the create meetings component. And in our code, we have imported the day picker and time picker from the Vue 3 library. Using these components, we were able to modify the UI. In the date picker, we put a lower limit to ensure that users cannot pick a date before the current date. In the time picker, we have manual input to allow users to input by keyboard as well. And we have format to help format the time picker in 12-hour format. Additionally, minute intervals allows the time picker to display the times in intervals of 5 minutes. Lastly, hour range allows us to display the hourly range from 0 to 24, but because we formatted it in 12-hour format, the picker will display 1 to 12 AM PM format. We have also imported the Vue Toast library to show all our display messages, including success and error messages. In the methods, we use diff from Moment.js to check if end time is greater than start time. And we also used format date from Moment.js to ensure that we have consistent time formats throughout our application.
So about creating the meeting and sending an email that we call an API create meeting using meeting service. And then after we create the meeting, we will have an ID of the latest meeting. So we will get the hosted meetings by and we find the latest record. It means that the ID, the meeting that has the largest ID, because the ID is auto increment. And then we send an email. So we look through the list of recipients that we have a list of email, and then we send email by calling the send email API. About the backend of it, so this is the controller to send an email. This method is mapped to the post request with the path meetings, meeting ID, and send email. It takes the meeting ID from the path variable and email object, and it checks if the recipient email is registered in the system. And if the recipient is registered, it construct an email body and send an email using an email service. About email service, we have we set up the properties, mail session, and construct the multi-part object, and send set the content of the body to send the email as HTML type and send an email. We also encode the email using the encoder by bcrypt hashing password encoder, and use sort and string to increase the security to hash the email of the recipient. And about the confirm meeting, after the email is sent to the Gmail, we click the link in the email. This method is mapped to get requests with the path meetings and meeting ID. It takes the meeting ID from the path variable and user ID and hash from the parameter. So it retrieves the account using the user ID. Check if the hash match the account's email, and if yes, confirms the meeting by serving the meeting ID. So sorry, meeting member record in the database, meeting member. Finally, it returns the direct view to a confirmation page. So the redirect field is used to redirect from the Spring Boot backend to the Vue.js to the front end. And we can also remove the time interval by click the trash icon here. So the trash icon we use from Awesome library. So this is the availability component. So I need the information sent from the create meeting component, like the name of the meeting and the time range of the meeting. So these are components are siblings component. They don't have the common parent components, so we cannot pass the properties directly from the create meeting to the availability component. So that I use one state management system like Pinia. So Pinia is the store to keep the share data to among the component, all of components. So to use Pinia, I create the Pinia in the main.js and I use it before we mount to the app component. And in the create meeting component, I create a share store. I use it by using use share store function, and I set the share data to store the meeting data to the share store. So in the availability component, I get the share store and I get the meeting data from the share store. So this is the store of the Pinia device. I define the store. So about finding the intervals, I use set to make sure that one attendee will not have two same intervals. And I still use format day from moment.js to format the start time and the end time. About the algorithms finding the interval times. So this function find the intersection of the time slots among multiple attendees. It takes an array of time slots as an input and returns the time range where all attendees are available. It iterates through each attendee's time slot, update the intersection based on overlapping time slots. So if there's no overlap among the time slots, it returns none. If an intersection is found, it returns the start and the times of the intersection.
So going to the rest of the components. So first up, the login component. So it's pretty basic. It have a username field and a password field, which are tied to this login request data object, so that it will be used when the user click the login button. It will be sent to the data will be sent to the login function, and this function will call the login service using this request, which will then use the data to authenticate the user. First up, we'll just do some very basic validation. If any of the fields are empty, or then we will return, or we'll also trim and also prevent HTML injection from all of the text input field. And next, when after all the validation, we will go look for the user with the username input from the user. And if the user exists, then we will compare the password. And if the password match, then very obviously we'll let the user access their Whenby account. And if not, then we'll just don't allow them to access their account. And next up is the register component, which is very similar to the login component. This time have three fields: is username, email, and password, to altogether used to create a new account. After the user enter the new account information and click register, then the register service will be called and use this register request object to create a new account. This is in the account controller. First up, very similar to login, we'll check, validate the input, like no or empty input, and trim and prevent HTML injection from the fields. And next part is to validate the email address with a regular expression, which is something at something dot domain name. And after validating email, we'll go check for duplicate, because our username and email in our database are unique. So we'll check for duplicate username and email. If there are any duplication, then we'll not let user create a new account with that information. And user basically will have to enter new information. Next component is update user, which is very similar to create user. It just find a currently logged in user. Let me show this. Here, edit account info. So very similar to create an account, but we find the account that already exists in the database and we just edit the information and save it back. Last but not least, we have show meeting component, which have two buttons to show either meetings hosted by the user or all the meeting user is joining. And when the user click on one of those two buttons, they will either trigger get join meeting or show hosted meeting, and show all meeting or show hosted meetings. In get join meeting, it get meetings hosted by the user with the current ID, which in here, meeting controller, get meeting hosted by user. Yep, we'll use this user ID to get all the meetings hosted by user and return it to the list. If there's no content, then it will just display you are not in any meeting, or you have not scheduled any meeting, depending on which button you click on. And an interesting thing about Whenby is we use the Moment.js framework to deal with all of the date and time formatting and calculating in our app. So this makes dealing with date and time much easier. So of course, this is definitely recommended for anyone who work with date and time in JavaScript. So that's all the component in our Whenby app. So finally, to recap, we have this user use case diagram, which have all the basic function of Whenby, including login, which will verify username and password, and most of these pages will display error message if there's any input error, and update profile and register will verify email and username availability. The main function of Whenby is that user can schedule a new meeting and share meeting with the members, so that members can accept the meeting and join the meeting. Hosts will also have the ability to remove meeting if they desire. And finally, everyone can view their scheduled meeting in their account, including meetings hosted by them or all the joint meetings. So that's it. Thank you for listening to our presentation, and have a good day.